Shut up and sit down.
Hello, I'm Shelby Hernandez, and you're watching the Books and Shows Throwdown. Today, I'll be taking a look at the Shadowhunters. Now, the choice for this was incredibly simple, but to keep the mystery alive, I'll try to make my choice not so obvious. But so, what's the choice going to be then? The book or the show? I suppose there's only one way to really find out. By taking a look at all the issues. So let's start with issue 1, character portrayals. Clary in the book describes herself as an awkward, cute, shy girl. So here are some passages in the book that prove this point. She knew she wasn't beautiful like her mother was. To be beautiful, you had to be willowy and tall. When you were as short as Clary was, just over 5 feet, you were cute. Not pretty or beautiful, but cute. Throw in carroty hair and a face full of freckles, and she was a Raggedy Ann to her mother's Barbie doll. Quote 2. Jocelyn even had a graceful way of walking that made people turn their heads to watch her go by. Clary, by contrast, was always tripping over her feet. Now, let me show you a picture of her. Based on this picture, she looks a lot more like a model, if you ask me. And considering all these descriptions, it doesn't really match. She's way too gorgeous of a person in the show. Not everything has to be overly pretty, just saying, show business. Aside from her, the fortune teller in the book is this older lady, and she's not a very nice person, but in the show, she's some young girl who is one of Clary's closest friends. And I mean, yeah, that's a hell of a lot more original than, the typical fortune teller who's old and gross. But let's be real, how many 20-somethings are going to be reading tarot cards? But anyways, aside from the characters, the demons and the monsters that are portrayed are not very good either. Whether it's that they're just completely off base from their descriptions in the book, like the demon that attacks Clary for the first time, or they look fake, or they just don't look like monsters really. Like, the author does a great job of using descriptive language, and I just feel like they don't really use that to their advantage in the show. But what I will say is specific characters like Isabel and Simon are portrayed quite nicely in the show, though. Very accurately. Now, let's move on to issue 2. Pacing problems. By that I mean it either goes too fast or too slow depending on the medium. For the whole series, it's based on magic and mystery and mystical creatures like vampires and werewolves and all things of that nature. And so I feel like having mystery is very important, and that's where pacing plays a really big role. In the book, there are really big details that come to be revealed, but they're revealed in a way that's mysterious and suspenseful, and it takes a good amount of time. And I feel like what the show does is just whips through all those crazy things that happens in a matter of 4 episodes. So what happens in a book, one whole book that's over 400 pages, happens within 4 episodes. Everything gets revealed right off the bat. Within the first 5 minutes of the first episode, we find out basically everything. So I just feel like for someone who's read the book, me in particular, having read the book and felt the pacing and been brought along that journey, to watch the show, I was like, what's going on? That is not supposed to be happening already. It was going way too fast. But on the other side of that, I do feel like the book would sometimes explain things for forever that were not necessary. So like the scene where they're in a cafeteria and they're talking about them being in a cafeteria for like 5 or 6 pages. Yeah, I'm glad we skipped that because it's not really essential, and it just gets boring when you're trying to get to the good stuff and they're trying to pull you for way too long. So sometimes the show makes it go too fast, but it does speed over some unnecessary parts. It's really a toss-up between what's better in that sense. But now, let's move on to issue 3. Horrid acting. All of the actors were just good enough to be doing what they were doing, but the person who played Clary, as in the most important character in the entire thing, was just god-awful. Like, here, I could even do a better job than her. She would be sitting there, say, watching a fight break out, and this is what she would do. Oh! Ah! Oh! And the guy beside her would be like, oh my god, what is it? What happened? Okay, actually, no, he wasn't that bad. He actually was, considering what he was working with, he was doing a pretty good job of acting through it. But do you see my point? This is what you gotta do. If you're seeing something happening, but it's not actually, well, like, no one else around you can see it. You go, oh, stop it! Stop! Leave him alone! Leave him alone! Can't you see that? See, yes, thank you. Thank you for the applause. I know, so great. Just kidding, right? Anyways, point is, the example before was bad, right? Yeah, of course. Moving on, it's time to decide who won. Was it the book or was it the show? Drumroll, please. And the winner of this round was the book. Yeah! So although the show did a pretty good job of describing characters like Isabel and Simon, and they did speed through a lot of really unnecessary things that were described in the book, they sped through so much of the book that all the mystery was taken away. Not to mention there was terrible acting, and there were not really any monsters, and the ones that were shown were either too fake, completely inaccurate, or didn't even look like monsters. Thanks for watching, ladies and gents. I'm Shelby Hernandez, and this has been the Books and Shows Throwdown.